Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into a fascinating piece of source material. We'll be focusing closely on verses 21 through 26 of Surah Al-Kahf.
That's right. It's a section that's incredibly rich with meaning.
And our mission, really, is to unpack these verses based on the analysis in our source material. We want to explore the different layers of meaning discussed and see what key insights pop out for us, right here, right now.
Think of it as trying to get straight to the heart of the message in these specific verses. What's really important, and how does it apply to life today?
Exactly. We'll touch on how people react to, well, significant events or figures, the nature of knowledge, what we know versus what only Allah knows, guidance on planning for the future.
And the core message, really, about Allah's power and his absolute oneness, it all ties together.
So by the end of this, hopefully you'll have a clearer grasp of these verses, maybe some new perspectives on handling information and planning, and find some practical connections to your own journey. You can support this deep dive by subscribing to the source channel. Okay, let's dive in then. Surah Al-Kahf, starting with verses 21 and 22. This is right after the people of the cave awaken. And things immediately get interesting. We see awareness, debate, even building.
Yes, verse 21 starts, وَقَالِكَ أَرْمْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ لِيَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ يَكُونُ أَنَّ السَّاعَةَ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهَا يَتَنَازَعُونَ بَيْنَهُمْ أَمْرَهُمْ فَقَالُوا ابْنُوا عَلَيْهِمْ وَنَرَبُوا مَنَامُ بِهِمْ قَالَ الَّذِينَ غَلَبُوا عَلَى أَمْرِهِمْ لَنَتَّخِذَنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ مَسْجِدًا.
That first part, Ayana alayhim. The source we're looking at explains this as Allah making their presence known, almost like people stumbled upon this knowledge, revealing the sleepers to the community.
Right. And the reason for this reveal is stated right there. لِيَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ وَأَنَّ السَّاعَةَ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهَا. So they know Allah's promise is true, and there's no doubt about the hour.
So it's not just a story, it's a sign. Its revelation directly serves to strengthen belief in resurrection and the last day. It's fundamental.
Absolutely fundamental. And then, what happens next? إِلَّا تَنَازَعُوا بَيْنَهُمْ أَمْرَهُمْ. They immediately start debating amongst themselves about the sleepers affair.
And the source clarifies, this isn't the youth themselves arguing, right? It's the community reacting to this incredible event.
Exactly. The people outside the cave are the ones debating what to do, how to understand it. It's a very human reaction.
And this debate, according to the source, seems to split into two main camps, or at least two different approaches emerge.
One group says, "Bnu alayhim bunyanan," basically, let's build a structure over them.
The source suggests this points towards focusing on the physical. Commemorate the spot, maybe venerate the people physically, build something tangible.
Yeah, kind of focus on the external marker, the place itself, perhaps missing the deeper point.
And the other group, they're described as those who prevailed in their matter, maybe the ones with more influence or insight.
And they say, لَنَتَّخِذَنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ مَسْجِدًا. We will surely take over them a place of prostration, or a masjid.
Now, this word masjid, the source offers a really thought-provoking interpretation here, doesn't it? It goes beyond just mosque building.
It does. The source highlights the root word, sahada, meaning prostration, submission, but also carrying the sense of validation, approval, showing deep respect that implies acceptance of its value.
So it's not about building a mosque on top of them necessarily.
Well, the interpretation explored in the source is deeper. It suggests this group grasped the value the youth represented, their withdrawal, their stand for principle, that was their cave of values. So taking a masjid over them means recognizing that value, affirming it, making it sagan respectable, worthy of reverence, and crucially, making it a model for their own lives.
So it's about adopting their way, their commitment, as something foundational, making that the place of prostration in the sense of submitting to its truth.
Precisely. It's about the lifestyle, the principles, becoming the model, as the source puts it, not worshiping the people, but valuing their stand.
That really brings the parallels to today, doesn't it? The source talks about this contrast, the shape-focused attitude, versus thinking about the core value.
Yes, the examples given are quite direct. Focusing on outward appearances like a beard or dress, maybe over the actual substance of faith and character.
We were like building huge, elaborate tombs or mosques near them, focusing all the attention on the structure.
Rather than truly studying and trying to live the lessons from the lives of the people being commemorated. The critique isn't about dismissing forms entirely, but about the danger of getting lost in them and missing the essence. Where's the real focus?
It's a powerful point. And the source briefly connects this kind of divine sign back to other Quranic stories too, right? Like the man resurrected after 100 years in Surah Baqarah.
In verse 259. The connection made is that both are extraordinary events, divine acts meant to show Allah's power over life and death, and ultimately to prove his promise is true. They're signs for belief.
So these first two verses, 21 and 22, they really set up this core tension. Do we focus on the external symbols, the place, the structure? Or do we grasp the internal value, the lesson, and make that respectable and active in our own lives?
Exactly. That tension is key. And it leads straight into the next verse, where the debate continues but shifts to, well, numbers.
Right. Verse 22, Sayakulina iliatun kwalbiuna wayakulina khomsatun sadisum kalbun ramam bil kwaybi wayakulina sabotum waiminum kalbum kulrabi alamu bielati malamili kulinu falatumari fimi amirano hiran wala tastafti pahimina.
So here we see the arguments. They will say 3, their dog the 4th. Others say 5, their dog the 6th, casting stones at the unseen.
And others say 7, their dog the 8th. That phrase, Rahman bil Kwaibi, casting stones at the unseen, the source emphasizes this isn't just guessing.
No, it's more metaphorical, like throwing stones at something distant and hidden. It signifies making claims about something you fundamentally don't and can't know for sure. Speculation.
And immediately after listing these guesses, what does Allah instruct?
Kul Rabbi alamu baidatihim. Say, my Lord knows best their number. A direct command to stop the speculation and defer to divine knowledge.
It's definitive. This isn't something for us to settle.
And it adds, Ma ya'lamu illa qalilun. None knows their number except a few. Meaning, perhaps those specifically given that knowledge by Allah, not just anyone guessing.
Then come the practical instructions on how to deal with this kind of debate.
Yes. Fala tumari fihim ila miran ahiran. So do not argue about them except with an obvious argument. The source suggests this means sticking only to what's clearly stated in the revelation itself, which doesn't give the number.
No pointless debates.
And crucially, wala tastafti fihim minum atan. And do not ask anyone among them, meaning the speculators, for a ruling or opinion about them. Seek knowledge from the right source, not from those engaged in guesswork.
This feels incredibly relevant today with, information overload and endless debates online about minutia.
Absolutely. The source makes the point very strongly. Arguing about the number is completely missing the point. It's unproductive.
If the number mattered for our guidance, surely Allah would have just told us clearly.
Exactly. The fact that people still get caught up in it, even after this verse, shows that tendency to fixate on, well, irrelevant details. The source calls it getting stuck on numbers.
So the real focus should be elsewhere.
Yes. The source contrasts arguing about the number with understanding how the youth reached their conviction, their journey, their process of forming that cave of values. Knowing if there were 3, 5, or 7 doesn't help us build our own resilience or principles.
Right. It links to that verse in Surah Al-Isra, doesn't it? Do not pursue what you have no knowledge of.
Precisely, Isra 36. The source distinguishes productive awareness and observation from basically gossip and speculation. We should seek knowledge that actually enlivens us, that gives us something constructive.
And this whole section, verses 21 and 22, keeps coming back to Allah's knowledge being supreme, doesn't it? Their Lord knows best about them, and now my Lord knows best their number.
Yes, it's a recurring theme hammered home. True, certain knowledge of these unseen specifics rests only with Allah. It perfectly sets up the next verses, which deal with our own claims about the future.
Okay, verses 23 and 24. These shift gear a bit, moving to very practical advice about how we talk about our own future actions.
Verse 23 is quite striking. Wala takalana lishe inni failum daleka gadan, and never say of anything, indeed, I will do that tomorrow.
It's very direct. The source highlights this as a clear prohibition against making absolute statements about the future as if it's totally in our hands.
And verse 24 immediately gives the exception, the condition, ilan yashallahu, except by adding, if Allah wills, inshallah. Exactly. But the source dives deeper than just the phrase.
Sure.
It links this to the understanding that Allah is, as another verse mentions, in a distinct state occupation at every instant. Reality isn't fixed. It's constantly being brought into being by His will.
So saying if Allah wills isn't just politeness. It's acknowledging that fundamental reality. Our plans depend on His ongoing creation and permission.
That's the interpretation discussed. Our plans are contingent, and the source connects this inability to truly grasp contingency with the modern struggle to, well, live in the moment.
How's that?
The idea presented is that if we're constantly making definite plans and worrying about a future we can't actually guarantee, projecting ourselves into it,
Right.
we're essentially doing another kind of casting stones at the unseen, but this time at the future. We're mentally trapped there.
Right, instead of being present where we actually are.
hmm And the source critiques how modern advertising, for example, can feed into this. Promises of guaranteed prosperity decades down the line through investments.
Houses, land, retirement.
Yes. The source suggests this can make people dependent on an uncertain future, tying their current peace of mind to things that might never happen or might happen differently. It makes them lose their present freedom and joy.
Especially when unexpected things happen, like the pandemic mentioned in the source,
Yeah.
that just upend everything. We really don't know what's coming.
You don't know what your Lord has prepared for you, as the source puts it. So that phrase, inshallah, is a constant reminder of that uncertainty and reliance.
And what about the next part of verse 24? Wadkur rabaka idanasita, and remember your Lord when you forget.
This seems crucial. If you slip up, if you forget to say inshallah, or more deeply, if you forget this principle of reliance and find yourself making absolute claims or getting lost in future anxieties, remember Allah.
Like a reset button.
Exactly. The source suggests this remembrance pulls you back, recenters you on Allah's power and control, and can alleviate the anxiety of trying to control the uncontrollable.
And the supplication that follows. Wakul asa an yadiani rabbi liakraba min hadar shadan. And say, perhaps my Lord will guide me to what is nearer than this, to right conduct maturity.
The source sees this as seeking Allah's help to find a better way. Recognizing our own plans or current state might be flawed, we ask for guidance towards something more correct, more mature, closer to His will, moving beyond forgetting Him or making flawed plans.
So it's about seeking constant improvement and alignment with divine guidance, a path towards greater maturity.
That's the essence of it, seeking that higher guidance.
This ties everything together nicely: knowledge of the past, reliance in the present, and humility about the future. Now, verses 25 and 26 bring us back to the story's timeline and then zoom out to Allah's absolute sovereignty.
Verse 25 gives a specific duration. وَلَبِثُوا فِي كَهْفِهِمْ عَلَىٰ مِائَةِ سِنِينَ وَازْدَادُوا تِسْعًا. And they remained in their cave for 300 years and added 9.
So 309 years. A very precise number seems to be given here.
It does, and the source notes the discussions about solar versus lunar calendars, possibly explaining the 300 plus 9, but that's not the main interpretive focus. The key is what comes immediately after this number.
Which is verse 26, starting with Kulallahu alamu bima labitu.
Exactly. Say, Allah knows best how long they remain. We hear this theme again for the third time.
So first a number, 309, then immediately, Allah knows best. How does the source address this seeming contradiction?
It argues it's not a contradiction. The interpretation offered is that the 309 years might represent what people were saying or calculating, perhaps linking back to that group focused on numbers and external details mentioned earlier.
So like they will say structure used for the number of youth. The 309 might be presented as what was being said before the definitive statement.
That's the line of reasoning presented. The definitive, ultimate truth is the statement that follows. Allah knows best how long they remained. It redirects attention away from human calculation and debate back to the reality of divine knowledge.
It reinforces that even when a number is mentioned, perhaps as part of the narrative context or the human discussion around it, the absolute precise knowledge is only with Allah.
Precisely. Our knowledge, even if seemingly specific, is limited. His is perfect. And the story itself, sleeping for centuries but thinking it was a day, inherently challenges our perception of time anyway. The miracle and the lesson are more important than the exact count of years.
Then verse 26 expands beautifully. Lahu huebus samawati walat. To him belongs the unseen aspects of the heavens and the earth.
A powerful statement. Everything hidden, every mystery across all creation is his domain, known fully to him. Which is why, the source implies, our debating these unseen details is misplaced.
We're trying to chart territory that belongs solely to him.
And then Allah bihi wa azma, how clearly he sees and hears. It emphasizes his perfect, constant, all-encompassing awareness. After stressing Allah knows best multiple times, this confirms the quality of that knowledge: perfect sight, perfect hearing.
And the conclusion of the verse is a declaration of tawhid, of oneness and sovereignty.
They have no protector besides him, nor does he associate anyone in his ruling. Absolute sovereignty, absolute authority.
And the source connects this Directly back to relying on the Quran, right? If he alone knows and he alone rules, then his word is the ultimate source.
Yes. The source material critiques the tendency to seek external explanations or additional details, mentioning things like Israeliyat or later interpretations that might add complexity or claim knowledge not found explicitly in the Quran.
The argument being that this impulse to look elsewhere
Stems from perhaps not fully accepting the Quran's own clarity and sufficiency. The source emphasizes the view that the Quran is clear, no closed expression, everything is open and net, and provides the necessary guidance without needing uncertain additions for matters of the unseen.
So the ultimate message is, rely on Allah's knowledge, trust the clarity of his revealed word, and avoid getting lost in debates about things only. He truly knows, because he alone is the sovereign ruler with no partners.
Absolutely. So bringing these threads together from verses 21 to 26.
We see this constant human tendency, highlighted in the source, to focus on form over substance, the details over the value.
And the related issue of getting caught up debating unseen things Allah hasn't clarified, which is presented as futile.
Then there's the very practical need to acknowledge Allah's will in our plans, saying inshallah not just as a phrase, but as a recognition of reality, helping us live more fully in the present.
And the strong call to rely on the Quran as the clear, sufficient source, rather than getting entangled in external speculations or additions.
All culminating in the foundational truth of Allah's sole sovereignty, his unique knowledge, and his absolute rule with no partners.
And the source stresses these aren't just old stories or myths. They're described as accounts based on reality, meant for our guidance, our ibret, the lesson we take for our own lives, for how we discipline ourselves.
So how does this help us navigate today's world? How do we sort valuable knowledge from, well, noise and gossip?
How do we avoid debates that lead nowhere constructive? How do we live meaningfully now, acknowledging the future is in His hands?
These stories are meant to be transformative, not just informative.
So to quickly recap the main takeaways from this deep dive, based on the source material.
1. Focus on the value, not just the form.
2. Embrace the lesson, not just the numbers.
3. Inshallah, plan with reliance, live in the present.
4. Seek knowledge in the clear source, the Quran.
And 5. Allah alone knows the unseen. He has no partner in rule.
Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration.
We really hope you continue to think about these themes and how they connect to your own experience.
If you found this deep dive valuable, please like the source video and subscribe to the source channel.
And just a final thought to leave you with, building on what the source asks about applying these lessons. We talked about the people of the cave creating a space, their cave, based on principle, reliance, withdrawing from harm to protect their core values. So, considering everything we discussed, focusing on value, relying on Allah's knowledge, living in the present, how can you, in your own context, build your cave? What does it look like to create that space of healthy values, clear principles, and reliance on the divine amidst all the pressures and distractions of modern life?
That's a really practical question to reflect on. How do we build that inner and outer space?
Something to definitely think about.